You could be doing everything right during the day, training hard, eating clean, taking your supplements, but if you're making this one common mistake before bed, you may be unknowingly blocking muscle growth, disrupting your sleep architecture, and even accelerating muscle loss over time. Here's the surprising insight. One type of evening food, often eaten innocently as a snack or late dinner, spikes insulin, blunts growth hormone, and fragments deep sleep. And for adults over 30, this combination can quietly erode physical recovery, cognitive clarity, and long-term body composition. Now, we tend to think about food primarily as fuel or comfort, but what neuroscience and chrononutrition now tell us is that food is also a circadian signal. What you eat and when sends powerful instructions to your brain, your hormones, and your muscle tissue. The wrong signal before bed, it can shut down the very processes your body is trying to initiate during sleep. Muscle protein synthesis, growth hormone release, and glymphatic brain cleanup. This video is about giving you the science and the tools to avoid that. We'll explore why certain foods and eating patterns before bed actually work against your recovery, not with it. You'll learn how food interacts with core sleep stages, the timing of growth hormone release, and the hormonal cascades that either build muscle or break it down overnight. We'll also break down what to eat and what to avoid in that critical 2-3 hour window before sleep. And I'll give you simple protocols you can start using tonight, because the goal here isn't restriction, it's optimization. And once you understand what's happening in your brain and body, you'll be able to make smarter, science-backed decisions that support deep sleep, lean muscle maintenance, and long-term health. Let's dive in. Let's start with one of the most misunderstood dynamics between food and sleep. How insulin, the hormone that helps shuttle glucose into cells, directly interferes with your body's ability to grow and repair itself during the night. Here's what the research shows. Roughly 70% of your daily growth hormone, GH, the hormone that stimulates tissue repair, muscle growth, and fat metabolism, is released during the first deep sleep cycle of the night. That usually happens within the first 90 minutes after you fall asleep. But here's the catch. When insulin is elevated, growth hormone release is blunted, sometimes by more than 50%, because the two hormones are antagonistic in nature. One is catabolic, insulin stores energy, and the other is anabolic, GH mobilizes and repairs tissue. A 2001 study published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism showed that even moderate carbohydrate intake before bed, particularly fast digesting carbs like white rice or sugar, suppress nocturnal GH secretion in both young and older adults. Why does this matter? Because growth hormone isn't just about bulking up. It plays a central role in muscle repair, cellular regeneration, and fat mobilization during sleep. If you're missing that pulse, you're impairing your body's recovery and reducing the effectiveness of your training. Let's make this relatable. Imagine your body like a construction crew. Growth hormone is the project manager who comes in overnight to rebuild what was broken during the day. But if insulin is still high, because you had that bowl of cereal or heavy pasta dish at 9:30 p.m., the project manager is blocked at the gate. No repair gets done, recovery stalls. Now, you might be wondering, but don't carbs help with sleep? That's true, in small amounts and with the right timing. Some slow digesting carbohydrates, like oats or sweet potatoes, can increase tryptophan transport to the brain and support serotonin and melatonin production if consumed 2-3 hours before bed. But when carbs, especially high glycemic ones, are eaten too close to bedtime, they keep insulin elevated well into the night. This can delay the onset of growth hormone secretion and interfere with the body's natural anabolic cycle. A simple tool to apply is this. Finish your last high-carb meal at least 2-3 hours before bed. This gives insulin time to return to baseline and allows your body to initiate the growth hormone pulse during early sleep stages. If you need a snack closer to bedtime, favor low-carb, high-protein, and glycine-rich options like cottage cheese, bone broth, or turkey slices, which support muscle preservation and neurotransmitter balance without spiking insulin. And here's a mindset shift. Think of sleep as an extension of your training, the most critical part of your 24-hour recovery window. And what you eat leading up to that window directly affects your body's ability to use it well. In short, if your goal is to maintain or build lean muscle, reduce body fat, or simply age better, protect your growth hormone release by managing your nighttime insulin levels. Your body isn't just operating on a single clock. It's more like a network of clocks. The brain, the gut, the liver, the muscles. Each has its own internal timekeeper. These biological clocks are guided by a master pacemaker in the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN, which responds primarily to light. But many of your peripheral clocks, especially in the digestive system and liver, are tuned by another powerful signal, food timing. When you eat late at night, especially heavy meals or snacks rich in carbohydrates or fats, you're sending a clear signal to your body: stay alert, stay metabolically active, don't wind down yet. So here's what the research shows. A 2015 paper in Cell Metabolism demonstrated that feeding mice outside of their normal active phase, essentially shifting their meals to what would be the human equivalent of late night, disrupted their circadian rhythms and led to increased body fat, inflammation, and metabolic dysfunction, even when total calories were kept the same. Human studies show similar effects. A 2013 study published in Obesity found that people who ate a larger proportion of their calories late in the evening lost significantly less fat and had poorer insulin sensitivity compared to those who front-loaded their meals earlier in the day. Again, with the same calorie intake. So what's happening in your brain and body? When you eat late at night, you delay the release of melatonin, the hormone that tells your body it's time to sleep. You also raise core body temperature and increase digestive workload, both of which are signals to the brain that it's not time for deep restorative sleep. Think of your physiology like a symphony orchestra. Sleep, hormone release, detoxification, and memory consolidation are all instruments playing in rhythm. A heavy or mistimed meal is like a trumpet blaring off beat. It throws the whole performance into chaos. Now you might be thinking, but I fall asleep fine even after a big meal. Yes, you may fall asleep, but what the science shows is that your sleep quality suffers. Specifically, late night eating has been shown to reduce slow wave sleep, SWS, the deep non-REM sleep where growth hormone is released. Muscles are repaired and memories are consolidated. This disruption in slow wave sleep creates a ripple effect. Less growth hormone, less lymphatic brain cleanup, impaired glucose metabolism the next day, increased hunger signals like ghrelin, and reduced satiety signals like leptin. A simple behavioral tool: time restrict your last meal to 2-3 hours before bed. This supports circadian alignment and improves both sleep depth and metabolic recovery. And if your schedule forces a late dinner, shift toward lighter, protein-dominant meals such as grilled chicken with leafy greens or a scoop of casein protein with some almonds to minimize digestive load and insulin elevation. Here's something empowering to consider. When you align your food timing with your internal clocks, you're not just improving sleep, you're reinforcing the entire rhythm of recovery, cognition, and performance. This insight is helping you. Consider subscribing. There's more where this came from. Each week, we break down science-backed strategies to help you optimize your body, your brain, and your daily routines, all based on real neuroscience and behavioral research. You've probably heard that insulin is an anabolic hormone, and during the day, that's partially true. Insulin helps shuttle amino acids and glucose into muscle cells, especially after a workout. But here's what often gets overlooked. At night, insulin's job shifts, and it can actually work against muscle maintenance if it's elevated at the wrong time. Let's break this down. Muscle protein synthesis, MPS, is the process by which your body repairs and builds muscle fibers after exercise. This happens in waves throughout the day, but one of the most potent windows is during deep sleep, when growth hormone levels surge and cellular repair mechanisms peak. But here's the critical interaction. When insulin remains elevated into the night due to a late meal, high glycemic foods, or constant snacking, it disrupts the delicate hormonal environment needed for MPS to occur effectively. According to a study in the American Journal of Physiology, elevated insulin levels suppress the nighttime surge of growth hormone and reduce the expression of key proteins responsible for muscle signaling, such as mTOR, the master regulator of anabolic signaling. In other words, you may be working hard in the gym and eating plenty of protein, but if you consistently eat in a way that spikes insulin at night, your muscle building potential is being blunted while you sleep. Let's use an analogy. Imagine your muscle building process is like pouring concrete to rebuild a structure. Growth hormone and mTOR are the workers and tools, but insulin, when elevated at the wrong time, is like pouring water all over the concrete before it sets. The result? A weaker foundation and wasted materials. And this issue becomes even more relevant as you age. After age 30, we naturally begin to lose muscle mass, a process called sarcopenia. For adults in their 40s, 50s, and beyond, preserving lean muscle isn't just about aesthetics. It's about maintaining metabolic health, physical independence, and brain function. So if you're someone who snacks late at night, especially on sweetened yogurt, chips, or that glass of wine with cheese, it's important to realize those habits may be quietly accelerating muscle loss over time. Here's a practical tool. Prioritize protein earlier in the day, particularly in your post-workout window. Then, if you're hungry at night, opt for a small, slow-digesting protein like casein or Greek yogurt, unsweetened, which supports overnight MPS without spiking insulin. And importantly, avoid refined carbs and mixed macronutrient snacks in the 2-3 hours before bed. Things like cookies, energy bars, or pizza. These create a hormonal storm that's counterproductive for recovery and body composition. Another helpful insight comes from the field of chrononutrition, the study of how meal timing affects health outcomes. Multiple studies now show that people who consume the bulk of their protein and calories earlier in the day, even with the same total intake, experience greater fat loss, better muscle preservation, and improved sleep quality. So the shift isn't just about cutting food at night, it's about restructuring when you fuel your body for growth. And here's something encouraging. Small changes in timing can yield large physiological benefits. You don't need to overhaul your diet, just reshape your rhythm. When we think about sleep, we often focus on melatonin, blue light, and caffeine, but one of the lesser known and highly impactful factors is fat intake, especially the type of fat and when it's consumed. Here's what the research shows. Saturated fats consumed late in the evening can impair both sleep onset and the brain's overnight cleaning cycle, known as the glymphatic system, a vital process where cerebrospinal fluid washes through the brain and clears out metabolic waste, including beta amyloid plaques linked to Alzheimer's disease. Let's unpack that. In 2016, researchers published a study in Nutrients showing that diets high in saturated fat were associated with lighter, more disrupted sleep, as well as reduced slow wave. The likely reason? Saturated fats delay the release of melatonin, the hormone that helps initiate and maintain sleep. Meanwhile, the glymphatic system, which only activates during deep sleep, relies on low core body temperature and minimal metabolic interference to function efficiently. Heavy, high-fat meals late at night raise body temperature, increase digestive demands, and compete with this brain clearing process. So what happens when you eat something like a cheeseburger, fried food, or a heavy cheese plate at 10 p.m.? Melatonin release is delayed, core body temperature rises, the digestive system remains active for hours, the glymphatic system is suppressed, brain fog and inflammation increase the next day. Think of the glymphatic system like the overnight cleaning crew in a library. If people are still eating, moving around, and generating metabolic noise, the cleaners can't work efficiently. Trash piles up. Long term, this affects not only cognitive clarity, but also risk for neurodegenerative disease. But not all fats are created equal. Some fats, particularly omega-3s from fish, nuts, and seeds, have been shown to support sleep, reduce inflammation, and enhance neuronal function. What matters most is fat quality and timing, a useful behavioral tool. Avoid large meals high in saturated or fried fats 2-3 hours before bed. Instead, if you need an evening snack, focus on light, unsaturated, fat-rich options, such as a small handful of walnuts, a spoonful of almond butter, or chia pudding with a bit of unsweetened plant milk. Bonus tip, combine these healthy fats with glycine-rich proteins like bone broth or collagen peptides, which can promote relaxation and sleep depth by modulating core body temperature and boosting parasympathetic nervous system activity. Now let's zoom out and connect this to brain health and aging. The brain is extremely metabolically active. It accounts for about 20% of your body's energy use, even at rest. During the day, that activity produces oxidative stress and waste byproducts. The night is when the brain takes out the trash. If your nighttime routine includes heavy fatty meals, you're not only disrupting sleep, you're dulling the brain's ability to rejuvenate. Over time, this impairs focus, mood, and memory, and may accelerate long-term cognitive decline. If insights like this are helpful, consider liking and subscribing. We cover neuroscience-backed tools like this every week, translating the latest research into strategies you can use to strengthen your mind and body. Here's the empowering takeaway. Your food choices don't just fuel your day, they set the tone for how well your brain and body clean, repair, and grow overnight. That's why mastering your pre-sleep nutrition isn't just about sleep. It's a strategy for long-term mental clarity, emotional balance, and high performance. You've likely heard the phrase, the gut is the second brain. But what that actually means and why it matters for nighttime eating goes far beyond digestion. Your gut contains over 100 million neurons, produces 90 to 95% of your body's serotonin, and is home to trillions of microbes that talk directly to your brain via the gut-brain axis, a bidirectional communication system involving nerves, hormones, and immune signals. Here's the key insight. When you eat and what you eat at night profoundly affects the balance of neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and GABA, which in turn shape how well you sleep, how calm you feel, and even how your brain recovers. Let's dive into the science. Serotonin is a precursor to melatonin, your sleep hormone. But serotonin also regulates mood, appetite, and circadian rhythm. The gut microbiota, the diverse ecosystem of bacteria in your intestines, plays a major role in serotonin production. A 2020 study published in Nature Microbiology found that gut microbes directly influence serotonin synthesis by metabolizing dietary tryptophan, an amino acid found in foods like turkey, eggs, and dairy. Now, here's the twist. Late night eating, particularly sugar-heavy snacks or ultra-processed foods, disrupts microbial balance, leading to increased gut permeability, inflammation, and altered neurotransmitter signaling. This can create what researchers call dysbiosis, a microbial imbalance that affects not only digestion, but also mood, stress resilience, and sleep quality. Let's make this relatable. Have you ever noticed that after a night of junk food, maybe cookies, chips, or a sugary cereal, you sleep poorly, wake up groggy, and feel irritable or anxious the next day? It's not just blood sugar turbulence, it's your gut-brain axis being thrown off. What's happening in your body? Processed foods feed the wrong microbes, the ones that promote inflammation and interfere with neurotransmitter production. Inflammation raises cortisol, your stress hormone, which suppresses melatonin. Serotonin and GABA, your calming, sleep-promoting neurotransmitters, become imbalanced. The result? You don't feel rested, you're more reactive, and your cravings spike again the next evening, starting the cycle over. But there's a way to use this system to your advantage. A simple, science-backed protocol. Support your gut-brain axis with a nighttime routine rich in prebiotic fibers and sleep-supportive amino acids. Here's how. In the evening, opt for small portions of prebiotic-rich foods like kiwi, oats, or a small green banana. Pair with tryptophan protein and proteins like a boiled egg, plain Greek yogurt, or collagen peptides. Avoid processed sugary or artificial foods at night. They destabilize your gut and spike cortisol. And if you want to go a step further, consider taking a probiotic strain like Lactobacillus rhamnosus or Bifidobacterium longum, which have been shown to support mood, reduce anxiety, and improve sleep by modulating GABA receptors and the gut-brain interface. This is about more than food. It's about neurochemical alignment. When your gut microbiome is healthy and timed to your circadian rhythm, you produce more serotonin, more melatonin, and more calm-promoting GABA, the neurotransmitter that helps your brain slow down the volume so you can fall asleep and stay asleep. What this means for you, when you eat cleanly and intentionally before bed, you're not just feeding your body, you're shaping the emotional and neurological tone of tomorrow. At this point, we've established what not to eat before bed. Sugar-heavy snacks, ultra-processed foods, saturated fats, and late-night meals that spike insulin or disrupt neurotransmitter balance. But what if you're genuinely hungry at night? Maybe you had an intense workout, a stressful day, or a longer than usual fasting window. The solution isn't to white-knuckle your way through hunger. It's to make strategic recovery-enhancing choices that support both sleep and muscle preservation. So let's get clear. There are foods you can eat before bed that enhance muscle protein synthesis, calm the nervous system, and improve sleep architecture. Here's what the research shows. One of the most well-studied nighttime nutrients is casein protein, a slow-digesting protein found in dairy that releases amino acids into the bloodstream gradually over 6-8 hours. A 2012 study in Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise found that consuming 40 g of casein before sleep significantly increased overnight muscle protein synthesis in young men. More recent research in older adults confirms that nighttime casein supports lean mass maintenance, especially when combined with resistance training. So what does that look like practically? Here are smart bedtime food choices that support your goals. Unsweetened Greek yogurt, 3/4 cup, rich in casein and probiotics. Boosts satiety, supports gut health, and feeds muscle recovery. Add cinnamon or a few crushed walnuts for flavor and blood sugar control. Casein protein shake mixed with water or almond milk. Choose a clean, low-sugar casein powder to promote relaxation. Collagen peptides, inworm or herbal tea. While not a complete protein, collagen supports connective tissue and contains glycine, an amino acid shown to improve sleep quality. So if you share 3 g of glycine before bed has been shown to reduce time to sleep onset and promote deeper sleep. Journal of Sleep and Biological Rhythms, 2007. Hard-boiled egg or cottage cheese, small portion. Both are rich in tryptophan and casein. Pair with half a kiwi or small piece of fruit for sleep-promoting effects. Chia seed pudding, made with unsweetened almond milk and a dash of cinnamon, offers omega-3, sea salt, fiber, and tryptophan, all of which support mood, satiety, and sleep. Now, timing matters too. Eat these options 60 to 90 minutes before bed to give digestion a head start, reduce sleep disruption, and allow for optimal nutrient absorption. Let's also talk briefly about hydration. Dehydration can impair sleep, recovery, and muscle function, but drinking too much water too late can wake you up to urinate. A good rule: front load your hydration earlier in the day, and if needed, sip a small glass of water or tart cherry juice, which contains natural melatonin and anti-inflammatories, about an hour before bed. Here's the empowering truth: the right nighttime nutrition is a performance enhancer, not a compromise. By giving your body slow digesting protein, calming amino acids, and sleep-aligned micronutrients, you're telling your nervous system, you can rest now. I've got you. And one more thing, adopting these new habits is less about restriction and more about rhythm. You're not just avoiding the wrong foods, you're learning how to align your physiology with nature's timing to build muscle, sleep deeply, and wake up stronger than you were yesterday.